Do Wi-Fi enabled devices impact sleep? It's a really valid question in light of the fact that we know sleep is an important biological function and a hallmark for health. Sleep disturbances are a major risk factor for cardiovascular disease, metabolic disorders, Alzheimer's disease, mental health conditions, and mortality. And we know the rise in sleep disturbances coincides with the widespread deployment of billions of mobile phones worldwide and the deployment of Wi-Fi enabled devices in homes, schools, and workplaces. Subsequently, radiofrequency exposure has increased by 18 orders of magnitude compared to when our grandparents were children. So why do the study? Firstly, after moving into our first home, within 2 weeks, my husband and I developed sleep disturbances. Didn't think anything of it until, over a couple of years later, realised we're sleeping near the meter panel. Upon relocating to the back bedroom, our sleep markedly improved. As a result of that, I established the building biology industry and have found over the last 20 years of examining people's homes that people who were sleeping in elevated electromagnetic fields were more likely to experience insomnia. As I explored the research, it became really clear that there are very few studies that are conducted in real-world scenarios. Most experimental studies on sleep quality are conducted in a highly controlled research environment using near-head exposure to mobile phones. These simulated studies reveal inconsistent associations, they lack generalizability, with limited sample size and very short-term duration or no follow-up. Most were conducted over a very short period of time of just hours. We know that over a single night, sleep laboratory is distorted. In contrast, real-life signals have been shown in a home environment, have been shown to be highly variable with unpredictable changes in intensity and waveforms, which renders them far more biologically active. Because of these limited studies on the impact of Wi-Fi enabled devices, I decided with a team of researchers at the RMIT to explore this. Now we know blue light impacts melatonin, but what about the radiation emitted from a Wi-Fi enabled device? As I looked at the research, I came across this paper that indicated using over 125,000 children that having a device in their bedroom, whether it was in use or not, actually impacted their sleep quite substantially. So here was further evidence that a Wi-Fi enabled device in the bedroom may actually cause sleep problems. Now, when it came to developing the study, the researchers and I developed a 4-week study, and the reason it was 4 weeks is because we wanted to have a randomized, double-blind crossover trial of 12 healthy adults. After a 1-week run-in period, participants were randomized to exposure from either an active or inactive sham baby monitor for 7 nights. Now, I chose a baby monitor because a baby monitor is designed to be in the bedroom. It's one of the very few devices that's designed to be in the bedroom. And as a building biologist in our industry, we found many children and babies weren't sleeping very well when they had baby monitors in their room. So this became the perfect opportunity to assess this. Now, for participants to be involved in this study, it was incredibly grueling because the inclusion criteria involved many factors. Firstly, their age. They had to be between 18 and 55 years. They had to live in a detached home, not in a multi-story apartment that could be impacted by electromagnetic fields from neighbouring apartments. They couldn't have sleep problems. That in itself was challenging because the latest parliamentary inquiry in Australia has showed 40% of adults have sleep problems. They couldn't have any conditions that would impact sleep, and even pre-existing illness, a bed partner who snored. They couldn't have too much light or noise in their bedroom. They had to be a non-smoker, and they couldn't be on any medications or supplements or antibiotic theory. They couldn't have been recently hospitalised or had surgery. They couldn't wear a pacemaker or work night shift. If they travelled across 2 time zones within 2 weeks before or after the study. They were excluded. They could not use their cell phone an hour before bed or during the night. They couldn't be pregnant, peri or postmenopausal. They couldn't be a smoker, and they couldn't have a BMI over 30. In addition to all of that, their bedroom was assessed and their home was assessed to ensure that the ambient electromagnetic fields did not exceed 0.1 microtesla or 0.02 milliwatts per square meter, which is within the building biology guidelines. Now, looking at the 4 weeks, participants were randomised to exposure from either an active or inactive sham baby monitor for 7 consecutive nights, and then crossed over to the alternate intervention after a 1 week washout period. So the first week we took baseline, we measured their brain waves, heart rate variability, and they were required to do a sleep diary, the Pittsburgh Insomnia sleep diary. In the second week, they then had a baby monitor which was double blind. So they and the researcher didn't know if it was on or not for 7 consecutive nights. At the end of these day 14, they then had to do the sleep diary and, of course, heart rate variability and the EEG readings. For week 3 was a washout, again, so nothing happened in week 3. And the reason why I decided on this, because a lot of people with electromagnetic field exposures can end up with a mast cell deactivation or histamine response. Week 4, the baby monitor came back into their bedroom for 7 consecutive nights. So during one of the, either week 2 or week 4, the baby monitor would have been active. The key findings of our research showed that participants exposed to the radiofrequency electromagnetic field from the baby monitor reported significantly reduced sleep quality within 7 nights compared to sham exposure. 27% of the participants scored above the threshold for risk of clinical insomnia during exposure to the baby monitor, and the electroencephalogram power density significantly increased during non-rapid eye movement. So we had both subjective and objective findings to indicate that the radio frequency emitted from the baby monitor impacted sleep. There was no statistically significant differences in heart rate variability or actigraphy, which is movement in bed. However, the heart rate variability would have reached statistical significance had we had more people in the sample, in the study. So getting a pictorial of this with the radio frequency device on the baby monitor, this was the result of the Pittsburgh Insomnia Rating Scale. So our recommendations as a result of doing this and my anecdotal experience working as a building biologist assessing people's homes over the last 2.5 decades, is that Wi-Fi enabled devices and cell phones should be avoided in the bedroom. Ideally, don't sleep near a device that has high electromagnetic fields like a smart meter or inverter. And if you must have a cell phone or Wi-Fi enabled device in a bedroom, make sure you turn them on flight mode and ensuring that Bluetooth and Wi-Fi capability is also turned off whilst sleeping. We'd like to thank the JACA Foundation and RMIT for my PhD scholarship. For more information or to read the paper, go to this site here. Also, thanks to Professor Russell Conduit, Professor Gerard Kennedy and Professor Mark Cohen for their support and on this paper and research.